decades of flat wages, interest rates sitting right at zero for like a really long time. I mean, if you look at normal Western money logic, you would think that an entire middle class living under those exact conditions would be, well, completely broke.
Right. You really would think so. It
Yeah.
feels like the basic math just does not work out at all for normal folks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you see your salary hit your bank account and
And it is just gone.
right, it is
Yeah.
gone. You feel the heavy weight of EMIs, the grocery bills, rent. You just wonder how anyone ever gets ahead without winning the lottery.
I know that feeling so deeply. You look at how much everyday things cost now, and you just feel defeated before the month even really starts. We hear this story so often.
Mm.
You assume you either need a massive paycheck or you are just destined to struggle forever.
But the reason we are doing this deep dive today is because there is this wild, quiet puzzle over in Japan. They have this massive middle class with so many millionaires. And the average family there, they save almost a third of their income.
A third, which is just, I mean, it is huge.
It is. And they do it without a lucky break. It is not about some tech boom. So today we are talking about 10 daily money habits they use that build what you could call quiet wealth. Because we want to look at how you can change your own life right today without needing a big raise or a lucky break.
Because when you really look at how our brains work with money, you realize wealth is not actually about the top-line income. It really isn't. It is entirely about the size and the steady nature of the gap between what you earn and what you spend.
The gap, that is the magic word.
Yeah, it is all about what you do with that gap.
So let's unpack this a bit, because shifting how we view that gap is huge. Think of your income like a river. The normal habit we all have is to try and scoop a little water out of the river at the very end, right before it hits the ocean.
Yeah, but everything else is paid.
Right. You pay your bills, you buy your food, you go out with friends, and then, you try to save whatever tiny trickle is left over at the end of the month.
Which is usually nothing or negative.
Exactly. But this Japanese approach, it flips the formula entirely. It acts like a dam built right at the source. You divert the water you need to keep first right away and let the rest flow down. It is saving first, spending second.
Which treats that first cut that gap as a total strict rule.
A sacred rule. You do not touch it.
And that river idea is perfect because, building a dam means you need structure. If we are going to talk about how to outsmart our own brains to keep the money we earn, we have to look at the daily friction needed to keep that dam strong. And that all starts with being hyper-aware.
Which brings us to this old traditional practice called Kakeibo.
Yes, Kakeibo.
It translates to a household ledger, just writing things down. But this is not just about balancing a checkbook, is it?
No, not at all. Way before budget apps were a thing, families were writing down every single small purchase by hand in a notebook. They put spending into simple buckets, like basic needs, optional wants, culture, and random sudden costs.
But the real power is not the physical notebook itself, right? It is the friction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the mental friction.
Yeah.
We talk about the pain of paying all the time. A credit card just gives your memory to a bank. It is so easy. It is invisible.
You tap your phone and walk away. You don't even feel it.
Right. But Kakeibo forces your brain to stay right there in the moment. When you physically hand over cash or when you force yourself to write down what you just bought, even just typing it into a notes app, your brain feels a tiny moment of real friction.
A deliberate pause.
Yes, a pause. Swiping a card bypasses the brain's logic completely. But this habit forces you to look at it, which actually changes how you buy things before you even need to use willpower.
It reminds me of keeping a food journal. Like, if you are trying to eat better, just knowing you have to write down, ate a donut at 2 p.m., that is often enough to make you stop and say, maybe I won't eat the donut.
Because you have to face it. It cures what we like to call the blur.
Oh, the blur. Let's talk about the blur. That is that awful feeling in April when you look at your tax forms, you see the big gross income number, and you think, wait, I made how much? Where on earth did it all go?
And it did not go to a boat or a sports car. It went to daily coffees, random online orders, streaming things you forgot to cancel. It just vanished into hundreds of tiny, blurry moments.
But by using this Kakeibo idea, just forcing that pause to record the fun stuff, ordinary people build huge emergency funds in just months. Using the exact same money they were already making, they just stopped the invisible leaks.
What is so interesting to me is that people fight this. They resist tracking because they think it will feel like doing math homework every night. Like it will be draining.
That sounds boring.
Right, it sounds boring. But in reality, the exact opposite happens. The tracking becomes a quick habit, and it replaces that constant low-level money stress with real mental relief. The unknown is what makes us anxious. Once you know exactly where the money goes, the fear just drops away.
But once you know where the money goes, you also have to know where the savings are going, which is another huge mental shift. Moving away from a blurry savings account and moving toward named goals.
This is a game changer. In our culture, we tend to just have a basic account called savings. It's just this random pool of money sitting there. But the habit here is to save for a very clear named purpose.
And there's a huge difference in your brain between an account called savings and one called New Roof or Freedom Fund. When you have a blurry pool, it is so easy to dip into it for a quick weekend trip because, the money doesn't have a job yet. It just feels like extra cash.
Yeah, you are fighting something called loss aversion. Okay. Humans hate losing things way more than we like getting things. When you pull cash out of a generic savings account, your brain does not feel a loss. It just feels the joy of the new shoes or the vacation.
Because savings is not a real thing you can hold.
Right. But if you name the account emergency fund or house down payment, taking money out triggers that loss aversion. It physically hurts. It feels like you are stealing from your future self.
You are directly hurting a specific dream.
Exactly. You delay that exact goal, and your brain rejects that. Naming a goal makes it way more likely you will actually reach it because it gives the money a strict identity.
So we have the pause, we cure the blur, and we have named goals to trick our brains into holding on. But let's shift from looking at the past to actually guiding the future flow of the money. Because payday is a very dangerous day.
Payday is the most dangerous day of the month. This is where we get into setting up the flow, starting with the envelope system.
We've all heard of envelopes, but this is not just a budget. It is a rigid boundary line.
In the past, yes, it meant dividing real cash into actual paper envelopes the exact day you got paid. One for rent, one for food, one for goals. Today, we do it with digital buckets. But the action is what matters. You divide the money before it can mix together.
And the rule is hard.
Yes. When the food bucket is empty, you stop spending on food. You never, ever borrow from the rent bucket to buy dinner out. You force yourself to get creative with what is in the pantry.
It stops you from logging into your checking account, seeing a big number, and feeling falsely rich, which actually ties perfectly into another structural habit, cash flow timing.
This one is so vital for beating our own present focus. It means mapping out your bills against the exact dates the income hits.
Because if you get paid on the 1st and you see $3,000 in your account, your brain just screams, I have $3,000 to spend today. Your brain totally forgets the electric bill on the 12th, the car note on the 15th, and the groceries on the 20th.
By mapping out exactly when the money must leave the account, you never treat a full paycheck as day one fun money. This one habit hugely drops the use of credit cards at the end of the month because you aren't spending next month's grocery money on a fancy dinner today.
But let me pause here. I can hear you, the listener, saying, okay, this sounds lovely if you have a steady, boring corporate job where you get paid the exact same amount on the 1st and the 15th. But what if I am a freelancer? What if I work on commission? My hours change every week. Does this whole structured flow just fall apart?
It is such a fair question. But the truth is, these habits matter way more when your income jumps around. The variable income trap is brutal. When a freelancer has a massive month, lifestyle creep usually kicks in right away.
They feel rich.
Yeah, they feel wealthy, they buy better coffee, they upgrade their clothes, and then a slow month hits. Suddenly they are in debt just to maintain that new normal.
So how does the structured flow fix that?
By being clear on the plan. If you use these habits, a big income month does not mean you buy a nicer car. It means you sweep the extra money straight into your named goals and your emergency envelopes the very same day the check clears. You structure the flow so the extra cash is fully out of sight.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, that way when the bound-to-happen slow month arrives, your daily normal has not changed. Your slow months aren't quietly draining the savings you meant to keep. Every dollar is tracked, no matter if it's a flood or a trickle.
Because the dam works either way. And speaking of floods, let's talk about windfalls, how we handle sudden bursts of unexpected money.
The bonus discipline.
Yes. A lot of workers get a bonus as part of their yearly pay. But the culture habit is that this money is mentally locked away. It goes straight to goals, investments, or killing debt. It never, ever touches the daily lifestyle budget.
This is a masterclass in beating mental accounting bias. In the West, our brains naturally label a tax refund or a surprise bonus as free money instead of hard-earned wages.
It feels like a gift.
Right. And because it feels like a gift, our guard drops. We spend it on luxury stuff without thinking twice.
I mean, if you find 50 bucks on the street, you are way more likely to blow it on a fancy lunch than if you earn that exact same 50 bucks working a long, hard shift. But it is the exact same money.
Exactly. When a windfall drops right into the everyday checking account, we rely on willpower to save it. And against our tricky brains, willpower usually loses. The rule here is distance, not willpower. You lock the money away right away so your brain never gets the chance to see it as everyday spending money.
And, here's where it's really deeply interesting. Because that idea of guarding the money extends beyond just you as a person. We rarely talk about the social side of wealth, but there is a habit of relationship-based saving, tanamoshiko.
Right. In our culture, money is a deeply private, almost awkward topic.
Yeah.
People struggle in total silence. But this is an old mutual savings circle. A group of trusted friends or family members all put a fixed amount into a pool every month, and they take turns getting the whole pooled sum.
It is peer pressure, but used for good. It creates forced saving habits through having support and backing. If you are saving alone, it is so easy to just quietly skip a month when you feel tired or want a treat.
But if your friends are counting on your money for the pool, you show up.
Okay.
You find a way to make it work.
And it removes the silent shame of money struggles because you are quite literally in it together. That lonely feeling is a huge weak spot. Having a shared check-in, even if it is just a modern savings challenge with a good friend instead of a formal pool, protects you. It shifts finance from a heavy, lonely weight to a shared strength.
So we have built a pretty amazing foundation here. We are tracking the invisible leaks, we are building the dam, we are locking away windfalls, and we are leaning on our friends. But guarding that wealth over a lifetime requires a deep change in how we view the actual things we buy.
Which brings us to the mindset of buying things. The habit of being careful and frugal, rooted in this cultural idea of montai.
It is often seen as a deep sense of regret over waste.
Yes, a real discomfort with wasting anything. Food, items, or money spent on things that give no lasting joy.
It comes from a long past of respecting what you have. If something breaks, a home raised with this mindset will deeply want to repair it before tossing it out. They feel a real pang of guilt throwing away a toaster that still works just to buy a shiny new one.
That is so interesting because it instantly reminds me of the Indian concept of jugaad, this clever way of making do and fixing things to make the most of what you have. But there is a small difference here. Making do is often a hack because you have to, out of pure need. But Montanai leans more toward a mindful respect, even when you have the cash to buy new.
That is a great point. It is the deliberate pause to ask, does buying this new item give me real joy, or am I just acting out of lazy habit? It is about respect for the items themselves, no matter how much is in your bank.
And this naturally blends into two other habits we see: keeping things simple and quiet buying.
Let's talk about the math behind keeping things simple. Minimalism. It gets a bad rap sometimes as just being a trendy, cold look, white walls and one awkward chair.
Right, like you aren't allowed to own anything fun.
But financially, keeping things simple is a highly powerful math equation. It means choosing to own fewer, better-made things instead of a mountain of cheap throwaway stuff. Think about the hidden costs of owning stuff. Fewer things mean fewer things you have to fix, replace, clean, and store.
Every single item you buy is basically a tiny monthly bill of your time and your energy.
Exactly. It quietly lowers your living costs in a way that builds up hugely over a lifetime. And then there is quiet buying, which is choosing to step off the treadmill of status games.
The status games, keeping up with the neighbors.
Yes. It is not buying the flashy car or the designer coat, just to signal your wealth to the people next door or your boss or strangers on the internet.
But let me ask you this, because this is where people push back. Does all this, the careful spending, having less stuff, avoiding status labels, does this just mean a life of feeling poor all the time? Are we just never going out to eat again? Never buying anything nice? Because that sounds awful.
I am so glad you asked that, because it is absolutely not about feeling poor. The goal is being clear on what matters. It is about boldly and freely spending your money on the things that genuinely bring you joy while harshly cutting the waste that is driven by what other people expect. It is asking yourself, do I actually love driving this expensive car, or do I just want my neighbors to think I'm doing well?
You are spending your hard-earned peace of mind just to impress people you might not even like.
Precisely. If you are buying things just for the return on showing off impressing strangers, you are wasting your wealth on fake ideas. When you strip away the status buying, you free up massive amounts of cash to fund your actual named goals. You take your wealth back from the demands of others.
Which brings us to the final piece of this deep dive. Long-term thinking and taking full charge of your own future. The mindset that you have to secure your own later years rather than hoping a pension or the state will just cover it all.
Starting early, even with tiny amounts, because the habit of putting money away matters so much more than the size of the first few deposits.
But, as we look at all this, I noticed a really strange puzzle, a big twist that we have to talk about. Japan has this famously strict saving culture, right? The dam is built perfectly.
Yes, amazing savers.
But they also have a huge trend of people hoarding physical cash at home, literally hiding stacks of money under the mattress, mostly due to banking crashes in the past and zero interest rates.
This brings up a vital point for anyone trying to use these habits. Saving well and investing well are two totally separate skills. They're completely different muscles.
You can be a world-class saver and a terrible investor.
Exactly. These 10 habits we have talked about, Kakeibo, envelope lines, named goals, beating the free money feeling, Matanai, they build the engine of wealth. They create that sacred gap between earning and spending. But if you just leave that gap as physical cash sitting in a jar on the shelf, you are leaving all the growth behind. Inflation will slowly and quietly eat it alive.
So the saved money is just the fuel.
Yes, the saved money is the fuel for steady long-term investing,
Yeah.
whether that is equity, mutual funds, or an SIP. The habits guarantee that you always have a deep supply of fuel. What you do with that fuel next, putting it into your portfolio, buying good assets, letting compound interest do the heavy lifting, that is how the wealth truly grows and beats inflation. You need the dam to catch the water, but you need the turbines to actually make the power.
Wow, yes. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that wealth is not an income level. It is a behavior. It is not a magic place you just arrive at one day when you finally get the right job title or hit a certain pay scale.
It is a path you walk every single day.
Right. Through small, deeply focused choices. It is the physical pause you force before you buy. It is naming your goals so you do not steal from your future self. It is ignoring what the neighbors think so you can build quiet, rock-solid security.
It is normal folks doing slightly unnormal, steady things to beat their own tricky brains.
Exactly. You do not need to be a Wall Street genius. You just need to build a better dam. As we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
We talked a lot about the pause today and the pure power of writing things down. So try this. If you were to track and write down every single rand to the extra purchase you make this coming week, what hidden emotional hole might those forgotten, blurry buys be trying to fill? And how would simply naming that feeling change the entire path of your money future?
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Money Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same honest way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Money Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Money Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Money Support Circle. Your support helps honest money awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Money Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.